Hey, it's just Julie here, and I'm just jumping on quick to share with you something that I think is really important. You know, we've been looking over the last 2 weeks about getting unstuck and accomplishing those goals that we have set for ourselves. And yesterday we looked at the power of finding a rhythm and getting into that rhythm, which really builds up that momentum in your life of accomplishing your goal. So you might already have set your goal, you've looked at your behaviors, you're working at consistently trying to take those small steps to accomplish those good habits in your life that lead to your goal. But there is one thing that I really want to share with you, one discipline that is going to make, I believe, a huge difference in you for accomplishing your goal. A difference from you not accomplishing it to a difference of you running the race and accomplishing your goal. And what we're going to talk about today is the power of consistency. Now, the power of consistency, seriously, is the one thing, and I believe it really is the one thing many times that sets those that accomplish their goals and those that don't, it sets them apart. It's the one missing link, consistency. And this is something seriously in my own personal life that I deal with. I have always lots of thoughts and lots of things, and I have my goals set out. But so many times I have that why. I've set some good habits for myself, but I fall short on the consistency part. And so we're really going to look today at why consistency is so important to allow you to accomplish that goal. It really does set us apart from those that fail. It's that consistency part. You know, there are so many people that have great ambition. They have great passion. They've gone through all the wonderful steps of setting themselves up for accomplishing their goal. And then there's that one thing that they fail in is consistency. You know what? And we're human, and I get it. It is so hard. This is something I honestly have to pray about a lot. Lord, give me consistency. Help me to be consistent. And I want to share this little story with you just to get my point across. You know, if we were going to take a plane from Los Angeles to Manhattan, and there was two of us, and I was going to go at 200 miles an hour, and you were going to go at 500 miles per hour, but you were going to stop at every state. You wanted to see every state, so you were going to stop. Here's what would happen. Even though I was going at only 200 miles per hour, I would make it to Manhattan. But the person that was only going 500 miles per hour, they were going really fast, but they were going to make those stops. It was that stop and start that created them to slow down. The momentum left. They probably wouldn't probably even finish because they'd run out of fuel, because that stopping and starting actually requires a lot of fuel and a lot of energy. So although I was going very slow, I would accomplish that trip. And the person that was going at 500 miles per hour more than likely wouldn't. And that's the same thing that happens in our lives. Have you ever had a goal that you wanted to accomplish and you were like gung-ho and you set out like wildfire and you had all these plans and great habits that you were establishing, you had your why, but you were going full force. And within a day or with two, you just petered out. You lost the momentum, you lost that consistency, and then you stopped. And you know, have you ever been at that place? I have. And it is very difficult to start again. It is very difficult. So that inconsistency can really collapse our momentum, and then we get stuck again. I've had the opportunity of pumping a water well, a pump for a water well, and to bring up the water. I don't know if you have, but I'm going to tell you, it is very hard work. You pump and you pump and you pump, and so you're creating this vacuum to pull the water from up underground to get it to flow out of the spigot. It is a lot of work. I give the people in the 1800s credit for doing that. It's a lot of work, and it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes energy to pull that water from the ground to flow from the spigot. And that's kind of like our own life. It takes a lot of effort to get started when you're working on a goal and you're establishing good habits. And you've got to work, and you've got to work, and you've got to work. And then you know what happens? Just like when you're doing the water pump, at first, only a few little drops come out of the water pump. And I would be like, what? I've done all this work for just a few little drops. And that's the same thing in our own life. We work and we work and we work. And maybe we only see a little bit of success. And then you know what human nature does? We stop. Forget it. We throw up our hands and say, just forget it. I am not going to do this any longer. This is a lot of work. I've had to give up sugar. I had to give up white flour. I've had to give up all my favorite foods if you were trying to lose weight, and nothing is really happening. The scale is going very slow. Or maybe the same thing with a business or a hobby or in your parenting or whatever it might be in your life. And then you just throw up your hands and you stop. You've worked so hard for just a little bit. But here's the difference between those that succeed in their goals and those that don't. And I want you to reflect in your own life. And this is pretty painful for me because this has happened a lot. Those that fail, they stop. They say, forget it. They throw up their arms and just say, I'm done. Those that succeed keep working. They keep pumping. It's hard. I get it. I really get it because I have been there. But they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. And guess what? The momentum, those small steps, that consistency over and over and over builds up that big momentum. And they start getting closer and closer to their goal. And just like you're pumping that water, the more and more you pump, there's just a few little drops of water, but then all of a sudden, the water flows. And you get a gush of water. And yes, you still have to pump, but it's not as hard. It's much easier, and you can just relax a little bit, and you can keep pumping, keep being consistent, but it's not as difficult. And that's the same thing with our own life. But this is what happens if you let go of the pump handle and you just stop. The water will stop, the suction will go back down, and then to start up again, you've lost the momentum, and then it's going to be really difficult. Can you relate? If you can, drop a 1 in the bottom and give me a comment and let me know if that's ever happened to you. You know what? I am talking from experience. This has happened to me. But the one thing that I really pray about in my life is having that consistency, to not stop, to continue the momentum. And the more and more you do it, the easier those habits might get. And you're going to see success, I promise you. It's just like that law of inertia. You know, in my previous videos, we talked about the rocket ship, that it takes a lot of energy to get going, but then once it goes, it's soaring. Once it breaks that gravity field, it's soaring. We talked about the merry-go-round and how hard it is to turn that merry-go-round, but once it gets going, it continues, and pushing it is very easy. We talked about the steam engine and how before that wheel can turn, those pistons have to work really hard. But once that wheel gets going, it goes and it's easy and it goes down the track without effort. That's the same thing with our life. I really want today to hit home the fact that you need to be consistent. That's what's going to help you succeed. And that will set you apart from those times in your life that maybe you haven't succeeded and you felt like you were failing. So remember the water pump. Remember the rocket ship, the merry-go-round. Yes, it's going to be hard work, but consistency, small, steady steps. That's what this whole book has been about, the compound effect. And we're coming towards the end of this series with it by Darren Hardy. I just want to encourage you. The magic starts. The magic starts for you when you continue those small steps. You know, and life is hard. I get it. My life, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I have a lot of things that just could make me want to stop and just like quit. But you know, when your why is big enough and you have people supporting you and encouraging you, you can take those small steps. So it's so important to have great influences in your life, people that are going to build you up. things that you can do to give yourself that daily push, because it's really hard to do by ourselves. I know, I've been there. And so I'm so glad that you stopped by today. I want you to really remember the power of consistency. That is where the magic happens. Tomorrow, I'm going to end this series, and we're going to kind of wrap it up, and we're going to talk about influences. So that's how we're going to kind of wrap up this series. And I'm going to continue each week, but we're going to wrap this series up. So just really think about how consistent are you in your life. Reflect on maybe something times in your life where you have fallen short. And I want you to really make a commitment to yourself, whatever you're working on in your life, that you're going to be consistent. And remember, it is hard work. But is your why big enough? Oh, make sure that why is big enough. Make sure you have those good influences, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. If you found any value today, hey, just maybe share with a friend, put it out there for other people to hear. I'm so glad that I can be here for you, and I'm always here to give you support, encouragement, because I really believe we can all live our best life. You make it a great day.